Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'll be reviewing Priscilla. So Priscilla is the newest film from A24 and Sophia Coppola, and it follows the story of Priscilla Presley, and it's actually based on the book she wrote called Elvis and Me. And the movie follows the story of Priscilla and her relationship with Elvis from when they first met in Germany in the 1950s all the way until the end of their relationship. And I think the movie does a really good job of capturing the experience of someone living in the shadow of a extremely influential individual, and especially a woman in the 1950s and 60s. Sophia Coppola is obviously a phenomenal director, and she does a great job of telling stories through the lens of a woman, and I think this movie is not an exception to that. Like I said, it really encapsulates those experiences. And she also brings that somber and isolating feeling to the film that she does so well in previous works, whether it be Lost in Translation, On the Rocks, Beguiled. This movie, you're really seeing Priscilla kind of being pushed to the side in many ways. This person who's just living, like I said, in the shadow of Elvis. And it's really somber at times. I will say the movie feels very slow, particularly in probably the middle third of the movie, because we finally see her kind of achieving her dream of being with Elvis and having to live with those consequences. There's so many shots of this film where we're just left alone with Priscilla. She's just waiting around Graceland. She's constantly just being pushed aside and kind of being treated where you're to be seen and not heard. And it is really sad to watch this play out throughout the film. And I think Elordi does a really good job. If we hadn't have already gotten Austin Butler's performance last year, I think I'd be a little more blown away by it. But having had that performance, this is still good, but it's nothing on that level. Kaylee Spaney does really steal the show as Priscilla. We spend a lot of time with her, like I said, in these very intimate and sad moments, and I think that's hard to pull off in film. Really quiet and almost isolating moments in movies are where actors really have to shine, which is facial expressions, the tone of their voice, the struggle that they're going through. And I think she does an exceptional job of playing this very naive girl and seeing her grow as a person. See her trying to kind of live up to who she wants to be and realizing maybe the dream she wanted wasn't really what it was all cracked up to be. The production design is fantastic. It looks the part. It obviously looks like we're taking place in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And we have those really good costume designs. Obviously, Priscilla was kind of a fashion icon, Elvis a fashion icon. So you bring that to the film, and there's some tension moments in her ideas of what she needs to be as a person, what she needs to be as a woman. And I think, like I said, while this movie is about Priscilla Presley, it is even more a bigger case study of the experience of women during this time period and feeling forced to act a certain way or be a certain way. And obviously being married or dating the most famous person in the world, it's even more under a microscope, so you feel that tension. And another thing in this movie that's obviously one of the weirder and kind of, upsetting things about Elvis's past is how young she was, how she was thrown into this kind of whirlwind relationship when she was just a child. And it's very disturbing at times and helps build the tension in the beginning of the film, because as a modern audience, you're watching this and you're like, this is really weird, this is very uncomfortable. And the fact that they were able to kind of take that scenario and not make it perverse or anything in any way and kind of show it as what it is, I think they did a really good job, because it's a messed up situation, but they didn't kind of, overutilize the fact that it's a messed up situation, if that makes any sense. That and saying it never felt too gratuitous the way that they talked about it. The first half of the film was actually much better than the second half of the film, and I think a lot of that has to do with the editing. The first half of the movie takes place just over a few years, particularly after they start actually dating, after they first meet, and it progresses very logically, and you're following the story along, and you're kind of there for the ride. And then as it gets to the second half of the film, it gets a little more choppy. We're jumping a lot more in time. A lot bigger events are happening. These big swings in both the real world and in their personal lives take place very quickly over probably the last 40 minutes of the film. And it feels like you're kind of rushed to the end of the movie. Like you have this long, drawn out sequences of them first getting together, her going to Graceland, her understanding her role as Elvis's girlfriend and wife. And then all of a sudden it's just like bang, 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 bang. She's grown as a person. I would have liked to see more of her growth and maybe even more of what takes place after her and Elvis break up and what happens with her, rebuilding this estate and becoming this more iconic person that's able to, pick themselves up by their bootstraps and achieve things. I know maybe that's not in the book and that's not the story we are telling here, but I would love to see more about Priscilla as a person, because it feels very early on she's just kind of the shell of a person that's living in Elvis's shadow. And I would have loved to see more of kind of the last 20 minutes of where she's fully blooming into a real person who's experiencing things. So, I mean, it's kind of a give or take. I actually really enjoyed the overall use of kind of handheld family footage style shooting they used in the movie, because at times you feel like you're watching an intimate home movie that you shouldn't be watching as an audience. You're seeing their personal lives, them partying, them kind of living their happiest moments, and then we cut away to these very somber, almost silent experiences of domestic abuse and kind of manipulation and all the things. And taking that juxtaposition, I think, makes the two even stronger, because you're seeing these happy, joyous moments that's like her dream life. And then you're seeing kind of the behind the scenes, maybe horrors that she experiences as someone living in this situation. So if I were to rate Priscilla, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's an incredibly well crafted and well acted film. I think the way that it's put together in the editing and pacing, kind of the overall story elements, could have been a little bit better. Like I said, it starts to really slow down, and then all of a sudden it's over. You kind of don't get a full resolution, in my opinion. I would have loved to see maybe more, even an end title card showing the accomplishments and what happened. It kind of just ends. I guess as an audience, kind of the history moving forward, and anyone seeing this movie probably already knows what happened, but it would have been interesting to maybe get a couple scenes of seeing her kind of be more triumphant as a person. So again, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you checked it out, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below.